This is science that I don't understand.
It's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Fabio Campanella, the man with the
What's
most
happening, buddy?
beautiful name that was a guest on my podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's funny, and not to get into backgrounds and all, but all of a sudden I have so many Italian Canadians on my podcast.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Italian boxers. I think someone else was on it as well. Nick Fantausi was the one. The other names are escaping me, but it's so cool because I never expected that I will be talking with the representatives of this community for so
You got to
so many
figure
times.
the amount of immigrants that came to Toronto area, right?
Yeah,
From
and
Italy.
if you adjust your microphone so that you're
Yeah.
close to it. But yeah, you're right.
The amount there's got to be almost close to 1 million. Right?
Well, that's the part of the story that I don't know. What was happening, because I kind of know how it was in the United States, but it sounds like Canada was sort of on the same page in terms of immigration to North America.
Yeah, similar, right? There was a lot of things to build, a lot of expansion, so they needed ready hands to work.
I know,
right? So a lot of Southern Italians.
Right.
You get mostly Southern Italians here.
That's so cool. That's because I spent 10 years in California, so that part of California history was mostly with Mexican immigrants, with immigrants from China, and then later on with the rest of the population of the world. But anyways, just a quick thought that I had. Last time I talked to you was when the pandemic just started.
That's right.
And it was over Zoom, and now we're here face to face, which is amazing. That at least the situation is getting a little bit under control, even though we're kind of getting towards the second wave. What do you think about the whole situation? What's happening right now?
Well, I always qualify my opinion on this because I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I'm not an epidemiologist. I think I passed grade 10 science, so I think that's the extent of my scientific knowledge. But I don't know. It's you can hear, if you follow Twitter, if you follow both sides of the story, you're getting on one extreme people that treat this disease as though you're instantaneously going to explode in a pool of blood, and then you get the other side that is talking about a pandemic and sheeple and some sort of that this thing is just the flu and they're covering it up and there's some sort of conspiracy going on, right? And with anything, the truth is likely somewhere in the middle, where we must have some sort of a bad disease going around.
Right.
Maybe it's not as bad as the media will portray it. Maybe it is. It's tough to know.
I know it's unclear, and I feel like a lot of it is being also perpetuated by the fact that we have the United States election cycle, and a lot of news sort of comes out of them, and I feel like we're always sort of looking towards them to see what's happening there, and we're never sort of, it's like with the lockdown and everything. They were first, and then we decided to do the same thing.
Right.
So I wonder if after election everything is going to be sort of okay, now that we are off the whole politics thing,
right?
We can actually do something. I don't know, just relax a little bit, and maybe in Canada. Although I have to say, I'm so happy that I'm in Canada and not in the United States right now.
Really?
Because it really seems like people are more chill here in Toronto, even though we are in lockdown and all of that. But I'm talking to a lot of my friends in Los Angeles, and they're all going crazy there. They're all wearing masks on the street and all of that, and it's just the whole the situation in the area
maybe
is crazy.
in Southern Cali, right? But and then in other parts of the United States, let's say Florida, where I have some friends and family living there. I mean, to take away their liberty and force them to wear a mask, they're just not going to do it, right? So it's there's cultural attitudes that differ in different places. I think in Canada, it's more geared towards compliance. If I would say there's more compliance with the law, probably more compliance with the policies than in some parts of the States. And it's very difficult to compare Canada and the States because, what's the United States is really a collection of a multitude of different cultures,
right,
and a multitude of different modes of reasoning, right? It's not just one country. What's an American? Right.
It's funny because the definition of what's an American right now is sort of up in the air,
right,
for a lot of reasons. But nonetheless, America is a great country, and I love America. I spend a lot of time there. But it's so funny that I'm here in Canada right now, and I think on October 4th, it was exactly a year since I came here.
Okay.
And I'm very impressed with this country. I'm not gonna lie. I feel very comfortable here for sure. The only thing that I'm not comfortable with is weather.
Yeah, the weather is not the best coming from Cali, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, last time we spoke, I think it was around. Actually, I'm curious. I'm gonna look it up right now. What do you think? Last time we spoke, what months was this?
March, April?
Let me check.
Somewhere around there.
Fabio Campanella, when?
I think it was the beginning when this whole thing started.
Let's see. It was episode 51. Details.
How's it going? I'm good, man. How are you?
How do you see the date here? Okay, May 4th. So it's only, I would say it was around like a little bit more than a month since the whole thing started.
Right.
And so when we spoke about that, I was mainly asking like you as a CPA, as a business owner, as someone who's have like a finger on the local, like a pulse of a local economy. We were discussing that, and I was basically asking you what's going to happen in the future and what's happening with your business.
Right.
So what you told me last time is that a lot of service industries are gonna are gonna really feel it. They're gonna suffer about that. And you were right. It really happened. We closed all the businesses, and in terms of retail, the restaurants and nightclubs, and they never reopened. And we opened them for a little bit during summer and fall, but now they're closing again.
Yeah.
Are you like? What's your thoughts right now? Like, how's your assessment changed?
Well, it hasn't, because once again, so if you know a thing or two about the restaurant industry, the nightclub industry, the bar industry, the entertainment and hospitality industries in general, these aren't necessarily the most well-capitalized operations. They have very thin profit margins for the most part. They rely on tomorrow's revenues to pay yesterday's bills, right? So it's not like you own a restaurant and you can go and raise capital, like do a round of financing or something like that. Your only choice is really friends and family and the banks. And the banks are not going to be very happy to lend a massive revolving line of credit to a restaurant when a restaurant can't open. So I think they're in trouble. You're starting to see that they have to rely on government funding, but it's complicated. I mean, at this point now, I've delegated all of that stuff to my staff because I just can't keep up with, okay, can I make an application for this? What is the wage subsidy? The rent's subsidy. There's too much. So I said, okay, I picked a dedicated staff. I said, you're in charge of all of this, and then, run it by me when you're helping out a client.
So you talk in terms of clients?
Yeah, and helping them out with that. But what I'm seeing on the ground with my collection of clientele is knowledge workers, lawyers, accountants, IT consultants, things like that. We all seem to be doing okay. We took a bit of a hit, but we're not going to crash and burn. Mainly because we can still do what we need to do, and we could do it from home if need be, right? Let's say my industry, people still need to invest their money. People still need to file their tax return. You can't avoid these things. So it's still happening. There's still revenues to be made. Obviously, there's going to be some clients that just simply can't pay because they're closed, right? Let's say you own a banquet hall, a restaurant, a nightclub, a bar. You're in really big trouble, right? You cannot just survive off Uber Eats, let's say, delivery and pickup. You have this entire physical bricks and mortar space that needs to be funded, that needs to be carried. And, what's the point of carrying it all if all you're using is the kitchen, right? I feel really bad for these people. It's just bad luck. They don't deserve this. But on the flip side, I also feel bad for the politicians and the policymakers because they have to weigh and balance, the hits to the economy with protecting the most vulnerable people in the population. So they make their assessment based on, recommendations of medical professionals, scientists, so on and so forth. And if they think that sweeping policies, let's shut down the entire GTA, is the best thing to do. That's a hard job. I don't envy politicians.
Do you think it's a question of when or a question of if the service industry, such as bars, restaurants, and nightclubs, for example, will be opened? And I'm also talking about the entertainment industry in terms of sports.
It's for sure a question of when. And the reason that I would bet the house on that is because when it temporarily reopened, there was a flock to it. People want to go out.
Oh, yeah.
They want to eat dinner out. It's not because of the food. It's not because the food is tasty. They want to be out.
Yeah.
They want to see, they want to spend an evening out. People love to watch sports on TV, but there's something to be said about seeing the individuals play those sports live, right? So I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and when we figure this out, if we figure it out. Right? Once again, I'm not a scientist, but the flu, for example, there could be a multitude of strains of flu, and every year they're trying to guess which strain of flu is going to come up to the northern hemisphere, and what's the success rate of their vaccination. I don't know, 30, 40, maybe if we had someone that could look it up, who knows, right?
Jamie,
yeah,
pull it up.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not perfect, and sometimes it's better than other times. Do coronaviruses behave like this? I have no clue. It might be a one and done, right? Or it might be one, it goes dormant, comes back 5 years from now. I don't know. So I don't think it's a matter of if, because we will go back to it. We're a social species. We want to be together, right? This is better than doing it on
Absolutely.
Zoom. You know what I mean?
It's a different kind of energy.
Yeah, even though I can see you on a screen, I can't read you. There's minute details. So it's a matter of when. And maybe we think of a different way to do it, right?
Absolutely. And another thing that's happening right now in Toronto that I'm seeing is a lot of talk about real estate. And it's sort of unclear what's happening because there was like a report that the second quarter of the year, I think, was what usually happens during spring happened during summer, which everyone absolutely started buying property in Greater Toronto area, Hamilton, and even here in downtown area. And a lot of houses were being bought for some reason, and it's being explained by the fact that it's just a lot of people try to sell them, and a lot of people try to take advantage of that, and that usually happens during spring. But because of coronavirus and that hiatus, and just in general the mood, everyone wanted to do something quickly. They thought that the market is tanking, and that's their opportunity. That's the real estate in terms of housing. The actual, there's a term for that, but the house, not the condo. At the same time, the condo prices are falling as well, and there's a lot of inventory on the market, which means a lot of condos right now are empty, and the landlords don't have anyone to rent it to because we don't have any immigration. We completely blocked, the whole. I don't think it's completely or not, but it's definitely being reduced significantly. Also, immigration in terms of permanent residency, immigration in terms of. I would say also international students, who come here and try to rent something. So, and no tourists as well. So no Airbnbs as well. And that's why we have all those space open, basically available. Hence, there's no supply, so the price goes down.
Right.
I'm sorry, no demand, though, so the price goes down. So how do you see this, and what do you see on the ground if you are talking to some people, or have you been researching that as well? What's happening?
Yeah. So, we deal with just a ton of real estate. In terms of our clients, the taxation of real estate, we help them build a real estate an investment portfolio. And what you're seeing now, it's very strange. Okay, you have to look at real estate, just normal market factors, supply and demand. That's one, right? But there are other factors as well. Right? People aren't necessarily in North America. They're not necessarily looking at real estate as what's the price of this property. They're looking at what's the monthly payment when they buy. Very few people.
Can the property cash flow, basically?
Yeah, well, can the property cash flow, but when you want to move into the property, let's say, and you want to live in the property, okay? Most people that are buying the property are saying, what's my monthly carry? What's the mortgage? What's the condo fees? Well. What's the maintenance, so on and so forth. And can I afford that? And that's a very North American concept, right? What's the monthly payment? And they're not necessarily thinking about the price, because the price has outpaced, if you chart it against, real wages, the price in the GTA has significantly outpaced wages, right? But interest rates have been dropping, right? And, the ease of which you can get, let's say, a 30-year mortgage, and you extend the amortization of the mortgage, that's helped out a lot, right? So getting the financing to buy a property has been one of the factors that's led to the increase in the pricing, because a lot of times people will think about it as a monthly payment, right? But now, in a situation where the monthly payment becomes an issue for the renter, I think this is what's happening, because people are losing their job, or they're afraid, and they're looking forward, and they're like, hey, I might not have this job in 6 months. Now a $2,500 rent per month for a 1-bedroom condo in Toronto is not looking as attractive, right? So now you're getting a bigger supply in the rental space, and that's why I think you're probably seeing a bit of a strange drop in condo prices.
Absolutely. I mean, we still don't know, like, for example, speaking on behalf of young professionals, we still don't know whether it's worth living in downtown if, like, 90% of the time we're working remotely.
Yeah.
I can easily, like, for example, get a condo somewhere in Hamilton, or even, further away, Waterloo or whatever, and pay very, like, much less than I'm paying right now. But I will be as productive as I am, here.
And have a nicer place.
Have a nicer place.
Yeah.
And because right now, like, okay, so it's winter in Toronto.
Yeah.
It's my second winter here. And last weekend, I, went out and just sat on the patio after 6. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm not doing this for
It's
sure.
dark and it's freezing.
It's freezing. And no matter how many heaters you'll put around me, this is like, I'm not doing this. I'm sorry. So I'm definitely like, there's no reason to be in downtown Toronto during winter if everything is closed.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's not fun, and it's not.
Yeah.
There's nothing useful about it. So, like, it makes sense for me, like, as a young professional, to at least consider and say, like, does this worth, like, me, like, living at this area?
Right.
Hence, the prices are falling right now, because I'm not the only one.
But now, when I look at it as a capitalist, I'm saying, perfect. When we figure this out, people want the younger generation, 20-somethings, 30-somethings, single, no kids, they want to be downtown. When the bars reopen, when the nightclubs reopen, when the restaurants reopen, when everything is back to normal, it's going to be cool to live downtown again.
Right.
Now is my opportunity to scoop up a deal.
Okay.
Sit on it, maybe go cash flow negative for a year, right? And then, boom, it goes up in value. The rents go up. Right. So there's a lot of factors that play into, let's say, the Toronto condo market. It's a very complicated market, right? There's rent control. That's a factor, right? Sets a ceiling for the amount of rent that
Quick question about that for rent control, because I know it doesn't only necessarily restricts you to increase the price, but also restricts you to decrease the price. With COVID right now, can a landlord decrease the price by more than what's allowed?
That would be a better question for a real estate lawyer. Because for the most part, the issue is the increase in the price.
Exactly, but
right,
exactly.
Right, so I don't see why logically you wouldn't be able to say, hey, you know what, you can live here for free. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So I'm sure there's always a way to decrease the price. I'm sure, but maybe we could do a little bit of research on that
for
after.
Sure.
But I think the big issue is increasing the price, and if it's capped at a certain percentage, whatever it is, 2%
I think
per
it's
year, right?
Something like that.
That plays into the issue, because now you sign someone on as a long-term tenant, then they go, after a year they go month to month or whatever it is, but then you're capped at 2% per year. How do you get rid of that tenant?
Right.
So it's going to make these condos maybe even cheaper. And then now you're having trouble Airbnb-ing them or doing temporary rentals, right? So that takes that out of the market.
I think are condo prices going down right now? Not just rent, but overall, if I want to buy a condo, are they costing less right now? Is this happening?
Believe they're down. The trend is moving down, or at least flat. Whereas the trend in other types of properties is actually up a a little bit.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Like, why is this?
Well, then you've got to think of it as well, right? When you're marketing any service or product, why is it nice to market to the affluent? There's less elasticity in their buying, right? In their purchasing power. So, okay, they're making $1 million a year, right? They dropped by 10%. They can still buy Chanel bags, right? It's because they're making 900 grand a year. So what's happening here is, I think, I can't go on vacation. I can't go to restaurants. So I'm saving all this money. So now what you're having is people that have houses, like freehold homes with a backyard. You can't find a pool guy to build a pool anymore, because they're like, okay, well, I didn't go on vacation. I didn't save myself 10 grand there. I didn't go to restaurants. I saved myself 5 grand. Throw in another 5-10 grand. I can make a pool, right? Or I can do some work to my house. Or you know what? I can upgrade because I can afford another $1,000 a month on the mortgage, right? So maybe it's that. Maybe it's people want to move out of the downtown core. And when you move out of the downtown core, you can actually buy something bigger. So a townhouse or a full house. Usually the progression is condo to townhouse, townhouse to house, right? So maybe people are making that decision a little quicker because they're like, hey, listen, I got this $800,000, $900,000 one-bedroom den in Toronto. I'm going to get rid of it, go a little bit outside of the city. I throw in an extra 100 grand and I can get a 2,000 square foot townhouse, right? And I'm working from home anyways, and I can't go to restaurants. And so I think people are really thinking about the moment. I don't think people really project forward. They're really stuck in the moment, right? And I think COVID's been around long enough that this feels like reality now, right? Wearing masks indoors, not going to restaurants, not doing the fun stuff that we're used to doing. I think it's starting to feel like a legitimate reality, and it may drive people a little bit out of Toronto, at least temporarily.
And so for the people, let's say, who are also bullish on the future of Toronto and thinking that, we're going to go back to the way how we were in terms of, going out and entertainment, and they want to invest in the town while it's still kind of on the downward sloping trend. Do you feel like we have already passed the whole, craziness, and we're not going to go anywhere low down? There's not going to be another crisis if things are going to be as they are right now? Or are we waiting for something like, oh, there's people, going to be defaulting on their mortgages at some point once? Because I know that banks were kind of supporting the whole, you can postpone paying and all of that. Are we past that thing? Have they figured that out?
I honestly don't know. You would have to look at employment trends, right? The postponement of the mortgage, like if there's going to be a big cliff, a big crash, what's the government going to do, right? Are they going to allow it to crash, or are they going to continue to bail out? And if you're looking back to, let's say, the Obama era, from the 2008-2009 financial crisis, the trend has been to bail out, really, which is why I think that the governments of the world will conglomerate to bail out the people. And what the overall effects of that is going to be, will it make hyperinflation? Will it collapse the economy? Will it create
probably
bubbles?
Increase the tax,
right? I don't know. I don't know, but it's going to have to be a coordinated effort. And once again, I don't envy these politicians.
Right.
I would not want to be in that position, because it's difficult. You can't let people starve. But on the flip side, if you give too much, are you running the risk of, hey, I'm giving these 22, 23-year-olds who just got out of school and they can't get a job because they have no experience and nobody's willing to give them a chance because of COVID, but I'm giving them $2,000 a month free money to live at home with their parents. Are you disincentivizing them to work?
That's
right?
the big question. That's the big question about universal basic income.
Yeah, you could be ruining, 5, 6, 7 years of a young person's life, and they worked hard for university, they did well, or whatever it is, they got through, and now they have no incentive to go out, because it's like, hey, I sit back and I'm on social media all day for $2,000, or I get a crappy job for $3,000, and net I'm really only better off $500 a month. So, but I got to do something every day. So
Right.
I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that people have a drive to work and progress. But, the economy is based on expansion. It's not, we need to expand in order to support this economy. So Canada needs net immigration. We need net GDP expansion in order to live the life that we want to live, which is a growing, whatever you want to call it, first world economy, but it's a growing one. We have plenty of land. We have plenty of ability to build infrastructure. We have, people generally follow the laws, a secure banking system, a secure government. So we need people to come in and we need people to expand economically, right?
Right. I just actually listened to, I saw the video by the Canadian government. Basically, they announced that they will raise the plan for immigration to make it 400,000 permanent residents in 2021 and around the same in 2022.
And that was in comparison to what before?
I honestly don't know, but for me, even the number of 400,000 people, it's funny because I went through the system. I applied for a permanent residency as an express entry, and I was really impressed by the fact how pretty straightforward it is and how it was ready on point, like with my skills.
Yeah.
So overall, like I think it's a very smart idea for Canada, because Canada has like less than 50 million people as a population, and it's the second biggest country in the world.
Right.
I think.
We don't even have 40 million people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in the 30s.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's totally legitimate argument. First of all, because we have a lot of land, but second of all, the immigration system that Canada has developed is very based on productivity and skills.
Right.
And that's very smart.
Well, yeah, you want from a sovereign perspective, you want people to come in and add.
No, but think about it. Look, I tried to stay in the United States.
Yeah.
I lived there for almost 10 years. I went through the undergraduate, worked, went to the graduate school, worked again, and I was pretty like I would say skilled and educated, like accountant, MBA, yada yada yada. And I went through like good employment, and they actually sponsored me and all of that. But I couldn't get the United States permanent, or not even a permanent resident, just a work visa. There's not even a system to be a permanent resident.
Okay.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, you just get a green card, basically.
Yeah, but you can't. There's no system like that, like express entry here. So my only chance was to get an H-1B visa and then extend it, and then based on that, apply for a green card in 6 years. And I wasn't selected because of like a lottery, because there's 300,000 people apply for the same thing, and they only have 60. I might be wrong there, but around 60,000 spots.
Right.
And so they're like, okay, we'll just do like a random selection, lottery. Yeah. And so I wasn't selected. I was like, well, this is it. But that's me, and I'm just. No offense, but I was just an accountant.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
Amazing.
There's a lot of
computer scientists,
exactly.
Engineers, all the biologists, microbiologists, neuroscientists, and all of that. Those who went through the PhD program. Canada has an amazing opportunity until the United States wakes up and like, oh shit, we're losing all that talent. Canada can scoop them all up right now. And honestly, that's the second choice. Like, what do you do? Because I talked to a lot of people. Like, well, you just go to Canada. They have a system. So I don't know. It's pretty smart how they do it.
But that's the thing too, right? I feel I've never gone through the system, but I feel in the US, if they need you, they're probably going to find a way to get you in,
right?
Without the system.
But you have to be a superstar though.
Yeah. Like if they need you, if this is the best, computer programmer or whatever, this is the best brain surgeon, we're going to get this person in, right? But do they need all those new immigrants? That's the big thing, right? What's the policy? They're what is it, 340 million strong, right? That's a big economy. That's a lot of people, and a lot of people that are willing to spend on credit, right? So, and then the US has influence elsewhere. Coca-Cola's everywhere. Right? 3M's everywhere. Facebook is everywhere. Google's everywhere. So they have a lot of influence outside of their borders. They have military scattered all over the world, right? So do they need that many people, right? You see a lot of people are saying, okay, the new new regime there, the Trump regime is, protectionist. They don't want immigrants. And is that, I don't know. Is it some sort of an attitude, or is it that they don't need the immigrants? I know here in Canada,
what's
we
your
need them.
because it's an interesting thought. So let's think about it. Why wouldn't they need immigration? I actually just curious. Like, what do you think would be an argument against it? And I'm not talking political here. I'm not talking whatever Trump's is arguing, whatever. I'm just thinking let's think about it in business terms. If we will get, and we're talking skilled immigration right now. Let's say there's a same program in Canada, in America as like Canada has right now. We're getting all the skilled ones. Basically, if they would accept me. Yeah. What's the argument against it though?
Well, is that skill required, or can that skill, is there a vacancy for that skill, right? So, here in Canada, maybe there's vacancies for physicians. I don't know, perhaps, right? But if there's, let's say you're very skilled at whatever it is, or woodworker or something like that, but we don't have that vacancy, we don't need that skill set, then from our perspective, why are we going to take that skill set in? 30 years from now, we might need it. Right? At the time that my grandparents came to Canada, they were uneducated laborers, right?
Manual labor.
Grade 4 education, grade 5 education, maybe in Italy, no lick of English whatsoever. And they were allowing them in by the boatload. Why? Because we wanted infrastructure, we wanted to build, we wanted to construct, and we needed the manual labor. So at that time, they needed it. So maybe those who are in charge of policy in the United States are looking at it and saying, maybe we don't need all of this, and it's going to create unnecessary competition with the people that are already here. Or maybe that's just their argument, and there's some sort of other agenda. I don't know.
Right.
But from my pure logical perspective, the way I look at it is, okay, I have this country, let's say Canada or the United States. I'm in the United States. I have this country. We already have a huge population. We're already massively wealthy, and we have influence from a monetary perspective, from a cultural perspective, from a finance perspective. From every perspective, we have influence all over the world, and we're getting the cream of the crop of every particular profession or skill set anyways. Why do we need to bring in people in the middle if we don't need it? Let's train them. It's not like they don't have a very extensive training community college and university network. They pretty much have the best schools in the world, right?
It's funny. There was a report recently about the United States high schools. I don't know if you read that, but less than, and I don't remember particular numbers, but less than 40%, and I'm talking 20s and 30s%, are proficient. Less than 40%. Let's just say less than 38%, because I don't remember for sure. Are proficient in reading and math, proficient of high school.
Yeah.
That's a staggering number.
Yeah. And then how do you define proficient, right?
I guess they have a definition.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So when you look at it, my math skills are probably embarrassingly inferior to yours, because you were educated primary school where?
In Kazakhstan. It was a Soviet system.
So you were probably already doing calculus by the time you were 4. Okay.
Probably not.
Yeah.
You're giving me too much credit.
You know what I'm saying? Like, your math skills,
right,
for pure math are going to far exceed mine.
So the question is, right, whether that's useful at all.
And that's the thing, right? Is it useful? So what's proficient? Because I see people that function very well, that they can add, subtract, and do basic multiplication to division, and they get through life. They make money. They feed themselves. They put their kids through university, and they're okay. So what's proficient, and at what point is it overkill? I'm an accountant. I'm an investment advisor. I don't use calculus ever. I don't even know what calculus is. Okay.
That's true. You don't use it in that.
Why would I? I'm not doing advanced finance.
Yeah.
Right? Why would I need calculus? Statistics.
Oh, hate it.
Yeah, but like other than statistics 101, there's no other. I just need the concepts.
I remember I had a statistics class. You just reminded me, and I legit had an anxiety attack before my midterm while I was on the bus.
Yeah,
going to that, and that was like, I don't know, it was crazy, and I got my C plus in that statistically. I was so happy that
I never took a statistics course. I just self-taught when I did CFA. I did CFA level 1, maybe I don't know, 14 years ago or something, just to do it. And I was like, okay, so I read through a statistics, 101 textbook, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Whatever, normal distribution, standard deviation, it all made sense. But all I really needed was the concept. I saw it and I'm like, I'm never going to run a multiple regression. Like, why would I do that?
Just that word already triggers me.
Like an advanced portfolio manager would do something like that. For what I do, I don't need it. So what's proficient, right? So, whenever you have these labels, not proficient or proficient, living below the poverty line, living above the poverty line, that's an arbitrary definition. Right? So I look around and I go to the United States, and I've been, dozens of times. I've never met someone that I found out was illiterate. I've never met someone that I could rip off with cash. Right? I've never met somebody who can't, find their way around, using the bus system. So
the argument that you're making is that they're good enough in terms of the general population to make sure that they can re-educate themselves. Like, how this thing goes, like learn to code or whatever. There is a high chance that we can use the general population that they have right now, and transform it into a more adjustable towards the new science, towards the new way of life in terms of like the new professions, basically.
Right. And that might sound protectionist, but I'm just throwing an idea around. Like, once again, I'm not a policymaker. I'm not a politician, and never want to be one, because I don't envy those people.
It's crazy. Right? Me neither. I used to dream of becoming like a governor of California, but after I saw what kind of hell you need to go through to become one, no way.
No, I mean, I can't even, I get a stomachache when I have conflict with one client, let alone I have a whole constituency of an entire population hating my guts. I can't handle that, right? But once again, they have to make these decisions based on the population that they represent, and then if they want to keep their job, they've got to make sure that at least 51% of that population agrees with them, right? So back to your original inquiry about X amount of people are proficient. Like I said, I go there, and this is anecdotal. I didn't do a study, but nobody is illiterate. But maybe people are, and maybe I'm not seeing those people. Maybe in the inner city, I don't go to Compton or wherever. Like I'm going to nice places.
Right? Like there's like always this stereotypical like South, hillbilly or whatever.
Maybe they are struggling.
Because I actually
maybe they are struggling. That would be horrible.
Never met them either.
Yeah,
so
that would be horrible. And if that's the case, should society route more resources over to them rather than bringing in mid-level skills from outside and pushing those people and marginalizing them even more, right? But will we be able to build those skills up quick enough to compete with the rest of the world? And that's the trade-off. There's always a trade-off. I can train internally or hire externally.
I can totally see your point. Yeah, and it depends like how much it will cost and all. But here's the thing, though. Here's what the Canadian government, the argument that they make is that the immigrants are actually creating jobs. And again, I don't think we are debating whether immigration is good or bad. We're debating what is the cost benefit, of immigration and like where can we find the balance. But I'm just wanting to throw that out there that you can make an argument that, immigrants, like for example, myself, like I'm definitely like, I love my job right now I'm just enjoying it and I'm getting a lot of experience from it. But at the end, like in 10 years, let's say, do I want to do exactly the same thing, or do I want to like have my own thing going on for me, and do I want to like create something, the creativity comes in. And then I would like, even with this podcast, I just talked to you, I joked with like, I need another person so that they can like check, what's
to
happening.
Expand. Yeah, you want to expand.
Exactly. So immigrants creating jobs, they're creating businesses. So that's like one thing that Canadian government was kind of proposing, or like at least arguing yesterday when I was watching that video. And another thing is that Canadian population is growing older.
Yeah.
And I think there was like a comparison for every retiree. There were like 8 working class people who are like working, whatever, employed. But right now it's like for every one person, there's only 4. For every one person who is retired, there's only 4 people who are working.
Correct.
So we need more people to take care of our older population, and then this is where like we need like more skilled people in terms of caregivers.
Right.
So those are the arguments that can be made, and I feel like those arguments can be made even stronger in the United States because their population is so much higher in terms of boomer population who is getting older.
Is their proportion much higher? I know in Japan it's extremely high. Like the elderly population is dangerously high, right? You know, so and can the economy support that, right? Because you know, a pension system.
Well, they always say about Social Security collapsing because we have all this boomer population getting older.
Right. But now with the states, I'm not familiar with the statistics, right? But who's going to come in and help them, right? So let's say you take a look at Canada. I'm more familiar with Canada because I live here, right? Immigrants, and maybe I'm biased because I'm the son of 2 immigrants, right? My mother immigrated from Italy by way of Libya in Africa.
Interesting.
Yeah, after the war, they were in, the Italians had colonized there, right?
It's crazy what people went through before.
It's crazy.
In generations before.
And then my father from southern Italy, he came on his own. His father passed away young in Italy, and he came here. And he actually was he had just finished university. He got an engineering degree. I think it was electrical engineering back then, but he ended up becoming a CPA and running his own business. So maybe I'm biased, but I see immigration, the way at least we're doing it, seems to be working and seems to be healthy for our economy and healthy for us as a population. We're bringing in people from different parts of the world, which means that we're getting these cultures and we're understanding, the Middle East, we're understanding Pakistan, India, the Far East, Europe. We already understand that culture. We have these languages. We can deal with those other cultures from a business perspective. We bring their foods in, all these things that make life worth living, right?
Right.
If we didn't bring in immigrants, we'd all be eating, I don't know, peaches, pears, apple pie, and roast turkey, right? But I want to have
very boring.
Yeah, exactly, right? No knock on Canadian cuisine, but I want to try. I love Indian cuisine. I love Thai cuisine. I love Italian cuisine. French cuisine. I love all these different things, and these are the things that actually make life worth living. So to bring all these cultures together, and we see, oh, hey, you get an idea from one culture, you merge it with another, and boom, there you go. You get something new, right? And I think at least I think immigrants, like first generation immigrants, they come to the new country and they're a little scared. It's scary. So the good thing about that is I find a lot of them, and maybe if the statistics will probably back this up, I'd be willing to bet they're net savers rather than net spenders.
Right, and there's I would argue that there's very low probability that they will take on a credit, on a mortgage.
Unnecessarily. Well, I think that they are because the banks have programs for this for new immigrants, but I think that they're less likely to overextend credit. Right? They come here, they bring some money with themselves, they bring some skills, and they buy a house. That's the first thing that they usually, big purchase that they make. It's, I'm going to buy a house. It's not put money in the stock market. It's not put money into second mortgages and try to get fancy. They put their money into a home, right? And when you put your money into a home, especially like a new home, that generates work for the economy. It generates skilled labor, architects, lawyers, accountants. It generates, more blue collar work, which is excellent because you get paid very well for that in Canada, and it's prized in Canada. Trade, so on and so forth. It gets these houses built. It causes expansion, causes economic expansion, right? So the other thing, I think, if we double check the data, I think they have a propensity to start their own businesses, start a small business, start something new, right? And take that kind of a risk, right? My father, he came to Canada, he worked maybe for a year for someone, and then he's like, forget it. started
There's
his own
definitely
business.
like an entrepreneurship spirit, especially when you're an immigrant and you're coming to the new country. Because you see the world differently when you are an outsider, and you can see the opportunities. And I'm speaking from a personal experience. You can see how much easier it is. And I think we
Right.
discussed that in our previous podcast. The rules are very set in Canada or in West in general, in comparison to like where I'm from, for example, that there are rules and then there are unspoken rules. And
Yeah.
you have to like make sure that you're abiding by the unspoken rules
Yeah.
and paying the right people and all of that.
Yeah.
Here, it's, I would say more or less, everything is outlined for you. And you can, as long as you're following the rules and you have like a good plan,
Yeah.
you have a good shot at, at succeeding.
Right.
I wouldn't say you succeed 100% of the times, but
Definitely not.
you
have a good shot.
have a good shot.
Yeah.
And that's, in a lot of cases, it's enough for people to start,
Yeah.
the trying.
Look, I started a financial services business from scratch 10 years ago. This is our 10th year. And, it's big enough. It's got a nice book of business, but I've never had to pay someone off. I've never had to deal with a corruption. The CRA or the securities regulators have never shaken me down, right? Things for the most part work. Whereas if you go even to Europe, right? Apparently things just don't work that well. Right? If you go to Greece, you go to southern Italy, a lot of times you're going to have to, you don't pay tax, you pay tax. Right? Which is something different. And it's not a knock on those economies. And I don't know. I'm just hearing anecdotes from other people that have tried to do business there. But I know in South America, it's very, very much like that. So I think immigrants come here and they're like, hey, look, I can start a business. I don't have to pay anyone off. I don't have to know a politician to be able to get this license. I just make the application. They check me out. I pay a small fee and off you go to the races, right? So I think that when they come in, they really appreciate that. Whereas, me being born here, often I'll complain about this, I'll complain about the bureaucracy, I'll complain about the red tape, but really I have nothing to complain about. I started a business from scratch with no money, and it's been able, now I have employees, now I have clients, now I have a physical place that's
great. I mean, it's amazing.
So it's like, you can do it and you don't have to be a rocket scientist. So that's the system that I think, works well here, right? In the States, I think you get it as well. I think if you want to be successful, because we do deal with the States, we do file U.S. tax, we do some consulting on the, for people trying to expand into the United States. And it's not that hard. Like, get a C Corp or an LLC, it's pretty straightforward. I can get it within a day, right?
Yeah. I've tried it before.
Yeah, it's not that hard. And you can get a tax number, file your taxes, do business, and it's pretty smooth. So I think that speaks to why the economies of countries like, the UK, Canada, the United States, Australia, why these economies are so powerful. Because look, we have these rules. They're pretty straightforward until you get into the tax rules. Those are a little weird, but they're pretty straightforward and they're immigrant friendly.
Right.
Right.
So I just wanted to, you kind of like gave me this, reminded me of what I was thinking lately, because I've only been to Toronto when I came to Canada. I just recently took a trip to, like, the further I went, probably Hamilton, and then just a couple weeks ago, I went to Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
So that's the extent of like my geography of how I've been. I want to go to Vancouver and all of that. Canada is an amazing, like, great country and all of that. But we have this, the first thing. Oh, I actually went to Montreal. Sorry. Been to Montreal. No offense, Quebec. Alberta. I want to know with COVID and all of that, with all those vast lands of Alberta and all and other provinces, in between the coasts. Do you think they will benefit economically from COVID and the fact that there might be a possibility that maybe in the future we are going to decide that maybe remote work is good?
Yeah, that.
Because I'm thinking, I
That's
have a gut
tough
feeling.
one. Yeah.
I have a gut feeling. I don't know what it is, but I have a gut feeling. I need to go to Alberta and check it out because something is happening in Alberta, or might happen in the future.
Places like even Ontario, let's Quebec, everywhere. We have so much land.
Yeah.
We have so much land. And then it's, where do the immigrants want to go? they're going to want to go where there's a community for them, right? So they're going to want to go to Vancouver. They're going to want to go to the GTA, right? Or whatever you want to call it, the Golden Horseshoe here in Southern Ontario.
Right.
It's tough to go to Quebec. I love Quebec. I love Montreal. It's one of my favorite cities in the world, but you have to be bilingual.
Right.
So you have to be able to speak French to really, truly flourish there.
Oui.
Yeah. I don't speak French, so I'm going to get eaten up there from a business perspective. So we file U.S. tax and we consult on U.S. tax, but we don't touch Quebec, right? I'm like, I just send it to a buddy over there whenever it comes. But on the flip side, Alberta, like right in the middle of Canada, it's just vast land with very little population. So to expand there would really require a government intervention, I believe, because it would require the building of roads, the building of infrastructure, the building of schools. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. So
You can't just pop it up.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look, if you take a drive around the GTA, you see that the infrastructure is there. We have the roads going to nowhere, right? Ready to go. We have the highways. We have, the airports. Everything is already set up for expansion. So I think it's just probably easier to do it in the more populated areas in Ontario. I think the only issue now is it going to be too expensive for people to live there? Are they going to get the quality of life that they want? Do they want to live in a condo in Toronto? Because, a condo in Toronto, a 2-bedroom condo in Toronto for a family of 3 is going to cost you close to $1 million to get something nice. Whereas if you move north of Toronto, $1 million will get you a very nice townhouse with a little backyard, So,
and that's kind of the sentiment that I'm getting to, is that I guess you're right about the infrastructure part. We do need schools there. We do need roads, and if the populations, but I mean, maybe it will grow organically. What do you feel like? What's Canada goes through right now? What is, because I'm new to this country and I'm looking at this from the outside, and I'm realizing all these amazing programs with immigration. And I truly think this is a great program with, like, you're getting all the cream of the crop of the population of the world to come to Canada, and the selling point of Canada is what we just discussed, right? The amazing, the business opportunity and just the culture of, like, being, honest and non-corrupt and all of that. I feel like it's like Canada is going through some sort of a weird renaissance, like we're a startup. I don't know.
Kind of feels like a startup,
I don't
doesn't
feel
it?
like this country is old. Like, there's no oldness. Like, I look outside and all the, like, stuff that I'm looking, which actually the same. I just took a picture of this thing this morning, so, like, to put on the background.
Yeah, it's a concrete jungle basically.
But it's a new one. Like, you look at this, like, 20 or 15 years ago, like, I would say 40% of that was not existent, as far as I've been told.
Yeah,
all
a lot
those
of it was
buildings.
not here.
Yeah, so
20 years ago.
It's like something happened, and all of a sudden, just like the money flowed into Canada. And now, not just the money flowing into Canada, but also, the skilled population, skilled people are coming into Canada. And I feel like it's about to go up, like, for real. I don't know. In the next 50 years.
Also, remember, there's a flip side to all of this as well. And, it's difficult to get the actual data, but a lot of these condos that you see here, there's likely a pretty significant amount of money being laundered, international money being laundered.
That was the first thought when I came here. I was like, something's not right.
Yeah, like I'm sure that there's quite a bit. So, and it is what it is. You're always going to get that kind of situation. So, I don't know what the percentage is.
And we're talking mostly, like, as far as I heard, there's, like, a lot of money from abroad. They're trying to park it in the real estate, and Canada sounds like a safe space.
Yeah, it's safe. Yeah. Let's pop it in. It generally continues to grow. They let immigrants in, so the values continue to grow. So even if the values are stagnant and you can buy and sell at the same price, it's still a pretty decent way to launder money.
Yeah.
Right. So, there's that aspect to it as well. And, will that aspect cause an asset bubble in Canada? I don't know. So,
But I think that's not what I wasn't implying that, look at the buildings, like, more buildings equals more success for the country. I was mostly like implying like, because last time we talked about, you know, the startup culture in Canada, that the Toronto is becoming the northern Silicon Valley. Like everyone's like, there's like a lot of government incentives for a startup and all of that.
And
like
I think
that
we are,
intangible kind of thing.
I think, you know, Canada's always been known as a conservative culture, right?
I didn't know that, but
Yeah, it's compared to the United States, conservative fiscally, like, whereas the United States, they're more willing to invest and take a risk. I think they're more conservative religiously in the U.S. than they are here in Canada. We're more liberal socially. But if you look at, you know, Canadian banks, for example, they don't like to take risk, right? Which is probably one of the reasons that they didn't drop, their market caps did not drop so much. Exactly. Yeah. They had no problems. They were okay. Well, I mean, they had problems, but they survived quite well. And that there's a trade-off when you have a fiscal attitude or a money attitude, an investment attitude that is very conservative. You know, your ride goes up, you know, kind of like this, rather than in the US, they're more willing to make a big bet. Right, more IPOs, more stock market, more equity type of investments, more private equity, you know, private rounds of funding for IT, right? So you're going to get something more like that, looks more like this.
Volatile, okay.
But I think you're going to get, in the end, a higher result, just a more volatile. Yes, okay. Yeah. But I think that Canada now that we can do everything virtually, we're integrating more internationally with other people. I think we're starting to see these opportunities, say, hey, why shouldn't we take advantage of them as well? And you get that, like with the government, they have the SHRED program, or the Scientific Research Experimental Development Program, which we do a lot of consulting on. And it's a very lucrative program if you are doing you know, research. It basically
allows you not to pay tax for the first period.
Well, they're refundable tax credits. So if you make expenditures, like you hire Canadian software developers and you pay them a couple $100,000 to develop a brand new software that you can prove is pushing the boundaries. You're doing something new. You're not just tweaking some old software. The government will cut you a check in refundable tax credits up to 60% of what you've paid. That's pretty lucrative. There's a lot of startup companies that are basically surviving on that until they can launch their product, launch their application, right? So it's a very good program. I don't know how many billions it dishes out per year, but it dishes out quite a bit of money, and it's helping out. And you start seeing other things like over the last 2-3 decades, Toronto said, hey, we want to be a destination for film and television production.
That's also true.
And it was nothing before. There was nothing. Now it's all over the place. And the government put money into it. They said, hey, you want a street? Yeah, I'm going to shut the street down and you film and pretend you're in LA or New York, whatever it is, right? And now you got a lot of people working, like making good money, like companies making good money doing it.
But going back to the... I just want to hear, like, what you think, like, if we're talking about, like, bird's eye view in terms of empire, you know, history of Rome, where is Canada right now?
Oh, it's a baby, right? We've just been released from the British.
Let's zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's say, like, in the past, like, you know, 100 years then.
Look, I think Canada has just a crap ton of potential. I think we're, in the grand scheme of things, if the U.S. is a full-blown independent adult, we're probably just a teenager.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I was like, I came here and I'm seeing everything from the inside. And as the last time I told you, like, I've been able to, like, research a lot of companies, and I'm realizing that Canada is in an interesting and beneficial position of being very close to the United States. So we're using them as our clientele, business-wise. But at the same time, we have so much land and also natural resources. When I realized that we have so much oil, and I realized, shit, because I came from Kazakhstan, and all of a sudden I'm like, Canadian currency is kind of tied up to oil as well. Like, that's kind of sucks. But at the same time, like, hey, like, we have the energy resources as well.
Yeah.
I'm realizing, like, that's an interesting country to be in, especially during this period, because especially during coronavirus, because we're figuring out some new stuff.
Right.
Like last time we talked about like the new ways of how companies, the produce companies or service companies can change their industries, change their services to kind of adjust to coronavirus. And we definitely can do that as well. I don't know. I'm just like thinking out loud here, but yeah, it's
Look, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think you're right. Obviously, there's because we're so rich in natural resources, we're going to rape the land of its natural resources and make a profit. That's just human nature to do that.
Yeah.
And whatever justification we use, we're going to do that. But the other beautiful thing is that we have the infrastructure, we have the education systems, we have the healthcare systems to allow the thinkers to have some creativity and think of other ways to make money, other ways to build the economy, other ways to build the culture. Right. So I think it's a good country. We probably just need more people.
right.
Right. I think that's the big thing. We need the people, and it's going to be bringing in good quality immigration. And what I mean by good quality is not that some people are worse than other people. What I mean by good quality is bringing in the people that we need to grow ourselves.
And that's why I'm very impressed by the system that they have here in terms of like getting the people that we need, because it's really based on your skill. I literally have an assigned code for my profession, and you have to like apply it based on that code. But a harsh segue here.
Yeah.
Let's talk sports for a second.
Oh, okay. We're going to do a complete 180 now.
Yeah, because I was like, it's not a sports podcast, and I never claimed it to be, and I actually like go above and beyond to say it's not a boxing podcast. But at the same time, it's funny because we follow each other on Twitter, and I see that you're, kind of like following the same things in terms of boxing. I wanted to ask your opinion, basically, what do you think about Lomachenko-Lopez fight, and were you expecting that win or not?
Well, like I told you in, I think it was a text message.
Yeah.
I wasn't very familiar with Lopez. I mean, so full disclosure, I've done some kickboxing. I've fooled around in boxing gyms in my 20s. But it's hard for me to pick someone out. It's hard for me to watch someone else fight who've never fought each other and say, hey, yeah, this guy's going to beat this guy. It's very difficult. I can do that with MMA, but I can't do it with boxing. Loma, like, he's just incredible. He's just incredible movement. His footwork is incredible. His ability to manage distance is second to none. And the thing that I love about him is he attacks. Right? You got a guy like Mayweather, excellent distance management. He's just an incredible boxer. But he's not looking to attack. He's looking to win the fight, right? Lomachenko, he's looking to win the fight, but he's looking to win convincingly. The thing I think about Lomachenko is, you got a 33-year-old versus a 23-year-old.
So we were speaking about...
Yeah, so I wasn't opposed. I'm never opposed to a fighter having a feeling out period at the beginning, right? You want to see, you throw some feints, see how your opponent reacts, maybe get hit, see how hard they actually hit, because it's hard to judge when you're just watching tape.
It was weird because, Loma definitely jumped several weight classes, and he was wary about, Lopez's power, exactly.
He's got knockout hands, right? But what I am weary of is when you take 5 rounds to figure your opponent out.
He took around 6 or 7, to be honest, like to actually really get into it.
Which means that, by round 6, you need to win every single round to win the fight convincingly.
That's a big bet.
And, not that I'm not I don't know how to score. I don't know what the criteria is, but mentally I had the fight. I had Lopez winning by 1 round because he took the 12th round. And I felt that if Loma had won the 12th round, he could have won, or it could have been a draw.
Right.
And I wouldn't have been disappointed if it was a draw. I would have said that's a good decision if he won round 12. But I think he lost he clearly lost the final round. The scores were ridiculous, like that one. What's her name?
Julie Lederman was very...
That was a strange way to score it, but...
Yeah, that was like... It's pretty a lot of conversation about that, but it definitely was a weird score, and yeah.
But I think that with Lomachenko, maybe, listen, 400 fights. I know they were amateur fights, but it's still 400 fights, 2 Olympic games. Maybe he's burnt out.
Right.
He really probably, I'm assuming that the reason he went to the second Olympics and continued as an amateur was because he was getting money. He was being paid well and compensated well for what he was doing. So why go pro? Why take those big 12-round fights, get hurt, deal with these promotions and whatnot if you're making money? I'm sure that's what happened. But 400 fights is a lot of fights, even at the amateur level. And
so that basically, definitely affected
is he
his
burnt
stamina.
out? Yeah, is he burnt out? Does he not want to do this anymore?
So so there's definitely that aspect, and also there's a lot of talk right now about his shoulder injury and that he went into the fight with the injured shoulder, which is, I don't know. To be honest with you, I was rooting for Lomachenko. He was my guy. He is my guy still, and I really respect him. And he's an amazing fighter. But I also want to make sure that Lopez gets enough credit because he beat him. Yeah, he beat him fair and square, in my view. And
23.
At 23 years old, definitely less than 20 fights, and he was very confident. He went to this fight, knowing what he's doing. Very athletic, huge stamina and all. But at the end of the day, Lopez definitely deserves respect because he beat him fair and square, and there's no doubt about that in my mind.
It was a good fight.
It was a good fight.
It was strange that it took that long for Loma to pick up.
It was unexpected. We did not expect that.
Yeah, I did not expect. I expected maybe 3 rounds, feeling him out, and then he starts doing his thing, disappearing, appearing behind you, and
Yeah, he was. I don't know. He was being all dodgy, from the very beginning. But it was I don't know. I hate to do these excuses, with injuries and all of that. But maybe it was a factor of that he was just trying to make sure he doesn't expand his shoulder very quickly.
Which one was it? His left?
His right shoulder.
Okay. Yeah.
Because watching his father as aka trainer, being very calm about this, it sort of seemed like they were expecting that. His corner was expecting it to be such a fight.
Yeah, and it was an important fight, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a defining fight for Lomachenko because now all questions. Well, there's a factor, first of all, what to do with his shoulder. He did all the surgeries. How it's going to heal? What's going to happen next? And
is it going to be the same?
Is it going to be the same? How many more fights does he have in them? Does he have at least 5 fights in him? What's he going to do? Will he stay the same weight class? Because you could see even visually, Lomachenko is a small guy.
Yeah,
he was way tiny. Above his. Yeah. But he dared that. He did what he had to do to try to do that, to prove that he's really that great. And I still think he is. But now, the question is, should he try? Maybe there's a rematch. Honestly, I'd watch the rematch. If the shoulder is gonna be a thing where couldn't perform because of the shoulder, but what?
Yeah, they got a story. Yeah.
Let's watch again.
Yeah.
And if whatever happens. But also he can go down to his weight and dominate there, make some money there.
But does he have any attractive opponents in the lower weight classes?
See, that's the question. I mean, that's we have to see about
this. Could be a big money fight. The rematch. My shoulder hurt. I was being cautious. Blah blah blah. But
I think the good part is that they have the same promoter, Bob Arum, Top Rank, and so they will, if the money is there, I think there shouldn't be a problem, no matter what Lopez says, because Lopez doesn't want to do a rematch. He's I beat him, I don't need to do anything else.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm hearing, Lopez, he'll defend his title maybe one more time. We'll see against whom.
He'll go up.
And then he'll go up because he has some weight issues.
He's a big guy, yeah.
Yeah, he has some weight issues as
Boxers don't like to cut weight.
No one like
MMA guys cut a ton of weight.
Speaking of cutting weight in MMA, what do you think about that last Khabib fight? I mean, it was definitely a dominant win and all of that, but what do you think about his career in general? Where's it going to go?
Khabib, I mean, he's incredible MMA fighter. So I was texting you about if you know anything about jiu-jitsu or grappling, with him it's more sambo.
Which I don't, but I want to. Yeah.
The technique he pulled off, the
triangle?
mounted triangle.
I heard it's almost impossible to do in a real fight.
I mean, you could get it if you're completely dominating your opponent. So number one, to get a full mount the way he did in such a dominant position against, I think an All-American wrestler.
Yeah.
He's a very good wrestler, top notch, top notch wrestler before you get to the Olympic level, right? To get that position and to just dominate that position is incredible. And then to literally premeditate and plan that submission, a triangle, such a tight, perfectly executed triangle like that. I mean, Gaethje, he tapped. The ref didn't even see it and then just passed out. And as the legend goes, DC Daniel Cormier, he said,
he was commentating on that fight.
Yeah, he was commentating, but he's also at AKA, American Kickboxing Academy. One of the coaches who coaches Khabib. Okay, he said that because Khabib knew that Justin's parents were going to be in the stands, he wanted to triangle or choke him rather than go for an armbar or something that he could hurt. He could hurt him because he felt that Justin wouldn't tap and he would have to break his arm or something like that. So as legend goes, he had this idea from the beginning. And I mean, it's not a complete farce because his last two wins were by choke. So, but he's above and beyond the whole division. And I argue that the 155 division is probably the most, usually traditionally that and the 170 division are the most stacked divisions. The reason being is that the smaller athletes who are super athletic will get into wrestling and kickboxing and MMA because they're too small to get into American sports. Like you want to get into the NHL, the Major League Baseball, you need to be a tank, right? So in the heavier weight classes, I don't think you get the best pick of athletes. Whereas in the lower weight classes, what else are they going to do?
That's actually
right.
That's an interesting thought. It totally makes sense.
Right. To me, it makes sense. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I don't want. It's not anything against the heavyweights. These guys are way better athletes than I'll ever be. But I think that for him to dominate like that, my only gripe is he's just hit his peak.
Cool. Khabib.
He's just hit his peak. Why not get a couple more? He doesn't need to. If you don't want to do it anymore, you shouldn't do it because it's violent and you can get hurt, right? But why not get a couple more? Fight Ferguson, fight Conor again. Make some money.
See, that's the thing. Like when he made his speech that he's retiring and his father passed away, and it sounded so sincere, and I totally like. It's funny in English and in Russian. I was like, damn, I was like very touched by his speech. Like if parents are alive, you have to spend some time with them. You never. And I was like, damn, like
he's always in training.
I want to go back to Kazakhstan and just spend some time with my family because like
they're not there forever.
I felt his pain. Like I definitely you could see how huge that win for him was. And then he says, I'm gonna retire, and I was like, wow, like this is beautiful. Like okay, like good for you, man. Like. Spend time with your family, like dedicate to whatever training, open the gym. But at the same time, it's like 29-0. Mayweather retired 49-0, and then he made so much money on his 50th win against McGregor.
Yeah,
I was like, there's a lot of marketing possibility to like who's gonna be Khabib's 30-0. And I don't know, like if it's gonna be McGregor, he definitely doesn't like McGregor, even though McGregor right now on Twitter and publicly he's expressing a lot of respect for Khabib. Probably, you know, for whatever reasons. I don't know, personal or commercial. I don't know. Do you think he's going to come back or not? Like, what's...
I think he's too young and uninjured, possibly uninjured. I don't know, but he doesn't seem to be injured. He's too young and uninjured to retire. I think there's good money to be made.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got a price and everybody gets bored.
Especially fighters.
Yeah.
Especially
everybody gets bored.
Famous fighters like Khabib, successful fighters.
And I think that this fight was trending to be the biggest pay-per-view buy in UFC history, and it flopped. It did only about 650,000.
Because originally Khabib was, it's funny, I haven't heard that number. So 600,000 buys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the number that, the estimated number. And they were trending, Dana was saying they were trending for 2.5 mil.
It's because Gaethje wasn't the right opponent. He was supposed to fight Ferguson dude, I think.
I think Gaethje was. I was super excited about the fight, but come fight day, one of my friends texts me at around 2 o'clock, hey, are you watching the fight? I said, what are you talking about? I didn't know that they were starting midday Eastern Standard Time. Fights are a nighttime thing. So in our area...
Because they were in Abu Dhabi.
Exactly. They were in Abu Dhabi. And Saturday at 2:00. It was weird. I was watching the fights with my daughters there, and
Yeah.
it's light outside, and I'm watching Khabib fight Justin. It was weird, right? So a diehard like me is gonna watch it, but even like what's his name, Dwayne Johnson, the Rock. He
Yeah.
even tweeted, "Shit, I forgot about the fights at 2:00, but I'm training and I have to, I got to work out, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at it on Twitter instead." And I think that happened a lot. Like no one's going to a bar or a restaurant
That's also true.
to watch these things. A, because of COVID,
Yeah.
and B, because you're not going to go to a bar to watch the fights at 2:00.
Interesting why they did it at the afternoon though.
Maybe it's for TV. Like, what would the time be in Russia? I mean,
Yeah,
there's
but
many time
like-
zones in Russia, but
But commercially speaking, it doesn't make sense, as you said.
yeah, unless they got a really good TV deal back in
Maybe.
Europe, and because TV you make money too. So
Or maybe like the Abu Dhabi people, they paid enough money to say, hey, like we're gonna
Do it now,
break
yeah.
the price, just like we want our population to like see it.
So I don't know. What I think is this. I think if I were able to match make, I would say set up if Connor wins against Dustin, he's going to fight Dustin Poirier.
When is he fighting?
This should be, I don't know when, I don't even know if it's been inked yet, but they were talking about doing it at 170, which is a lazy move in my opinion. Just cut the damn weight to 155. But if he wins, get an interim title going, get a new, do some sort of a tournament style to get a new champion, then have Khabib come back and say, you know what, I'm bored, come back, win the title, then do a super fight against 40-year-old George St. Pierre at a catch weight, not for the title, right?
What would be the weight?
I would say maybe 160.
That's a good one, because I was gonna say if Khabib's gonna come back later, he's gonna wait for too long. The weight cutting would be a huge issue for him, because it already is a huge issue for him.
Yeah, but I think you should do another 155, win the title back, make sell 1 or 2 million pay-per-views, and then fight GSP at a catch weight, so there's no title, right? Because GSP is going to come. If he wins, he's not going to fight again, and make a huge payday there, right? So make 2 very good paydays, walk off into the sunset. He can say, you know what, I'm the best ever, blah blah blah. Because now you have John Jones at light heavyweight, who's contesting that. No, I'm the best ever. I'm the GOAT, whatever you want to say, like
Pound for pound.
Yeah, pound for pound, right? Because I 13 title defenses or whatever it is that he's done. And yeah, he has an argument, right? So I think that Khabib, I think he's got more fight in him if he's mentally there.
And I think a lot of it's gonna be like his mother's blessing. He
it's fresh now. His pops died. It's fresh, right? But his dad, like, would he want him to stop fighting? I don't know. I don't know them.
Yeah, I
right?
strongly believe that's not it for Khabib, and and I feel like his family will encourage him as well to do that. Like I don't know.
Or maybe he's happy. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's happy just with what he has. He's a millionaire. Like, what does he care, right? If he's sick of being in the U.S.
That's
and he
the
wants to go
mentality
home.
of the fighter, though. Like that's the mentality of the fighter. Like I don't know. He wouldn't get fat and just do nothing, or be like the trainer at the gym.
Prince Nassim, buddy.
Exactly.
He's like 400 pounds, isn't he, or something?
Fuck, what a guy that was, Nassim Hamed.
He was
Oh my God.
amazing. Like,
But he quit at the right moment.
Yeah.
Like he was so confident, and then like he just got sparked. So good for him, anyways. But it's or you want to go back to the glory? You know what I mean? Like it's. So I think we're gonna see Khabib in the next 24 months.
Yeah, and if he comes back early enough, he'll just continue ripping guys apart. She's that good.
Yeah.
You could just see the strength, like the physical. But it's not even just the strength. Like if you watch him if you slow it down, his arms and legs he's like a freaking octopus. They have independent minds, and he's locking you up with his legs. You don't even realize it.
Interesting.
It's just his brain. He's able to control your upper body with his hands, but while you're paying attention to this beast controlling your upper body, he's locking you with his legs and sweeping you under, and you can't move. It's like you're just being drowned. It's ridiculous, and if you've ever like grappled, you would know that feeling when you got a guy who just makes you feel like you're drowning. It's like a boa constrictor. Just every time you move, you're wasting energy, and he's not.
It's amazing.
Then you throw in punches, forget it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And definitely he's going to be studied for a lot of years ahead.
Yeah.
Fabio, it was a great pleasure speaking to you.
Yeah, man.
Definitely great time.
Good times.
Touched upon a lot of subjects, and I hope we're going to do this again.
Yeah,
But I appreciate you, coming down to the studio, aka my condo that I'm overpaying for.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get that down, buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need to work on that. But anyways, thanks so much, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, dude.
All right.
Anytime.